A very good morning and welcome all of you to the daily news analysis for today, 4th of February 2025. So in today's news analysis, we are going to see the Supreme Court's 2-3 observations. First one on the Forest Rights Act, on the Forest Conservation Act 1980. The court says that why the definition has been so changed so as to effectively reduce the coverage of the cover of the forest in the forest, the deep lands, okay, in the sense that the government has changed the definition so that any patch of 4 or 5 trees could also be labeled as a forest land to compensate for any linear projects, to compensate for any infrastructure projects. Let me just share it on the Telegram so that other people get notified. So this thing then, the matter of appointment of the election commissioners. The judgment of the Supreme Court of March 2023 has been so diluted that now government again has an upper hand in the appointment of the election commissioners. So these 2-3 judgments, then we are going to talk about 2 editorials in today's news analysis. First one is on the rights of domestic workers. Domestic workers, there should be a legislation around the regulation of the working conditions for domestic workers because of their harassment at the hands of employers, because of the lack of minimum wages guarantee, lack of identification proof. All these things lead to a situation where domestic workers are harassed at the hands of employers. So this thing is there. Then we are going to talk about the jobs that are needed for Viksit Bharat. Then lastly, we are going to talk about ethanol blending. So where will the ethanol come from? Even though the sequence of topics may vary, but these are the topics that we are going to cover. For PDF, you can visit this Telegram channel. You can download the PDF from this Telegram channel, Jatin Verma Sir, PW Only IS. You can either scan the QR code or the link of the Telegram channel to download PDF and to get updates about all my classes and sessions on PW English IS can be had from this Telegram channel. Right now, do not reduce the forest land for linear projects. First of all, what do we mean by linear projects? Okay, these are the linear projects like straight line projects. Okay, it could be a railway track or it could be a roadway project. Okay, so any highway, national highway project, metro line project. So what happens in these metros, big metro cities of India, that for these linear projects, land is acquired, and in return, as per the requirement of the Forest Act, what they do is they label a patch of 4 or 5 trees, any 10, 15 trees as the forest. Supreme Court had in this 1996 judgment in 𝐂𝐇𝐀𝐍𝐃𝐄𝐃 case, 𝐂𝐇𝐻𝐃𝐍𝐃𝐃 Thirumul case, 1996. It is a case of 1996. Supreme Court said that we should go by the dictionary meaning of the meaning forest. What is forest? Forest is not a patch of trees. It's an ecology in itself. It's a faunal system, floral system in itself, carrying a lot of species of animals, etc., and then a harbor for these species. But when the land is acquired, there is a norm in the India in the Forest Act that you have to compensate for any loss of trees, any loss of forest rather. Okay, but the government has so modified the definition that government will any project, any all the areas recorded as forest in any government or UT state record, irrespective of their ownership, recognition and classification, will also be labeled as the forest. That means to compensate for the loss of the natural forest, any land that is labeled as the forest in the government records, in the forest ministry's record, in the state ministry's record, will be declared as a forest in compensation for the loss of natural forest. You getting my point? So that is why Supreme Court said that don't appoint any committees, just live by the spirit of Forest Conservation Act 1980. You have to go by the dictionary meaning. Dictionary meaning will be applicable till the states and union territories prepare a consolidated record or atlas of all the land recorded as forest. Now onwards, any government recorded land will not be considered as a forest land. So this is simple thing that government is trying to create a definitional dilemma for the Supreme Court by having a definition of the forest land as the land demarcated as forest in the records of the government. So that land could also be used for compensating the loss of natural vegetation, natural forest, as you see in this image. So linear projects, one other term that was there is linear means road, any straight line kind of a project, those are considered as linear, not straight in the strict sense of the term, but it could be meandering like this or that. So that is there. Now coming to the other aspect, again environment and ecology, how the government will produce the required fuel ethanol. 2025-2026 is the target year. The context of this news is for 20% ethanol blending. In the conventional fuel petrol that we are using, 20% ethanol blending is required. So where will this much amount of ethanol come from? We do the molasses of the sugarcane or maize in order to get ethanol. The norms were brought about in the year 2003. Okay, in the year 2003 it started with 5%. Now it has to be taken to 20%. So this leap needs to be covered with the ethanol. This would entail the production of nearly 1100 crore liters of fuel ethanol in 1 year. 20% ethanol blending of petrol in the next 2 months, at least a year ahead of what was originally planned. So Union Minister has declared this. Now Hindu has come up with the research as to where will this ethanol come from actually. So the 1100 crore liter of fuel ethanol will come from sugar and high grade molasses of the Food Corporation of India rice, broken rice and maize. Okay, FCI ends up with a lot of broken rice, inferior quality rice, which it cannot supply as the PDS material, okay, PDS food, because that is not good for eating. So that rice would also be used for generation of production of ethanol to meet the target of 20%. Okay, for the year 2024-25 ethanol year, this is ethanol year in the sense that 2024 the maize output would be somewhere around 42 million tons, out of which 9 million can go towards producing 350 to 400 crore liters. Total 1100 crore liters is required. Okay, India's, see, we have the distillery capacity. Ethanol requires distillation process. There is no problem with the distillation capacity. We have the distillation capacity to the tune of 1600 crores. Okay, so expected sources is the problem. Sugar 400 crore liters, 110 crore liters will be produced from the FCI rice, 400 crore liters from the maize. So this is the breakup of how can we generate ethanol for our clean fuel program. Right now, coming to the other aspects, these are the targets, how the molasses has been, the sugar cane, that is from where the sugar is extracted, from which the sugar has already been extracted up to a great extent, can be crushed and can be used for production of further ethanol. So this is just an awareness news. The current target is to achieve 20%. You should be knowing this. This program is by Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. Now, if the question comes A, B, C, ethanol blending program is by Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. Okay, Ministry of Forest and Climate Change. Okay, then last one is MOPNG, Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. So you should be aware of these type of questions also. Now, policy support, interest subvention for setting up of distilleries. How the government through its policy measures have supported the production of ethanol. Anybody who wishes to set up the distillery, the factory for producing this ethanol, can get an interest subvention of up to 2-3%. That means interest charge will be around 7.5%. Whatever will be the prevailing rate of interest, out of that some of the interest burden will be taken up by the ministry towards the achievement of ethanol blending program. Right, then reducing GST on the production of ethanol. So GST on the production of ethanol is how much? Please find out and mention this in the comment section. Okay, so this is there. Anybody having any doubt can mention it in the comment section. I can see 17-20 students as live. So if you come across anything, and I'm sure you are jotting things down, without making a note of it, it is of no use. You'll forget after the session gets over after 2-3 days. Now, sugarcane juice, molasses, damaged food grains, and agricultural residues are the sources for production of this ethanol, right? Now, another interesting matter has come whereby, to me, Sonia Gandhi has been misquoted. She said that President looked tired after her joint parliamentary session address. There is a formality, there is a this convention in India that President of India addresses the budget session, opening budget session, okay, where both the houses, both the members of the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha are seated together. So Draupadi Murmu ma'am, she was addressing the house and she looked tired. Sonia Gandhi said she looked tired after the session, poor thing. And now, for using this complete sentence, she looked tired after her parliamentary address, comma, poor thing. This poor thing word has been misquoted, and there is a breach of privilege motion brought up against Sonia Gandhi as the member of Lok Sabha, as the member of parliament. So what is this breach of privilege? Any member is sitting in the Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha by virtue of, by the reason that she or he is a member of parliament. If anybody uses any derogatory remarks against the presidential address or against the chair of the house, that is the speaker or chairperson Rajya Sabha, speaker Lok Sabha, that person, or for breaking any rule of Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha against that member or minister, I am being very particular, listen to me very carefully. Breach of privilege can be brought about even against a minister. Okay, BOP can be brought about even against a minister or an MP also for breaking the rules of the house. There are certain norms, rules, usage of derogatory terms, etc., that a member of parliament should abide by. Now, if minister misinforms the house, if minister is giving any wrong information to the house, that for example, when Sushma Swaraj used to be Minister of External Affairs of India, she had misquoted the data, or she misinterpreted or misinformed the house that lesser number of Indians had died in Iraq or in Syria, trapped in Syria under the shackles of ISIS when Islamic State was at its peak. Okay, so because she had misquoted the number of MPs, number of Indians who are still under the hostage of Islamic State, who were then still under the hostage, she quoted the number as 34, whereas it was 134 maybe, or even larger. So members of parliament brought about a breach of privilege motion even against the minister. That is valid. Okay, rule 222 of Lok Sabha, Rule 222 of Lok Sabha or Rule 187 of Rajya Sabha can be used to bring about the breach of privilege motion against the concerned member. If any member of Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha violates the dignity or tramples upon the dignity of the house, or some way insults the house or Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, against that member, these rules could be used respectively, 222 for Lok Sabha and this 187 for Rajya Sabha. Okay, with this breach motion is what? You move the house, you request the speaker that please accept this or please admit this breach of privilege motion against Sonia Gandhi in this case. Once the motion is accepted, there will be a regular proceeding. Speaker will judge whether the member concerned, member alleged to have violated the privilege or breached the privilege of the house, has actually done that or not. Okay. Now, as I said, if you read the complete sentence, Sonia Gandhi seems to be on the safer side. She said that president got tired, but the other political parties have so misquoted it that she is insulting Draupadi Murmu ma'am, the president of India, because she is a scheduled tribe. She hails from the scheduled tribe community. So therein lies the difference. Okay. Now we are, for our purpose, this is the breach of privilege motion. Article is 108. I forgot to mention Article 108 in the parliament in the union level is used for this thing. Okay, if a member of parliament believes that a breach of privilege has occurred, they can raise the privilege motion in the house. This is the formal complaint that brings the matter to the attention of the speaker or chairperson, who then decides whether to allow a discussion on the issue, whether to admit such breach of privilege motion or not. Okay, so the chair of the house, Lok Sabha, speaker, Rajya Sabha, chairperson. If allowed, the motion can lead to a debate, investigation and potentially action against the individual or entity responsible for the breach. Okay, purpose of the privilege motion, why the privilege motion has been introduced, why it is there in the statute book, why is this there in the law book? To uphold the legislature's authority and to ensure the dignity of the functioning of the house. If anybody is using derogatory remarks or spraying pepper on the speaker, this has happened. Pepper sprays that are there for the girl safety or other purpose. Okay, even paper tidbits have been thrown at the chair. So these type of things should not happen in the auspicious house, in the temple of democracy. That is why these words have been maintained. Some legislators of Karnataka have even been found to be watching pornographic videos sitting within the precincts, sitting within the decorated house. Okay, the Legislative Assembly of Karnataka. These type of things have taken the level of the dignity to a lower level. So that is why this privilege motion, etc., are retained or are there ever since, so as to maintain the dignity, so that the decorum of the debate is maintained, right? Privilege motions are serious matters and are not used lightly. The speaker or chairperson has the discretion to even suspend a member, okay, or disqualify him in the worst case scenario. So committee of privileges, it consists of 15 members in Lok Sabha, 10 in case of Rajya Sabha, nominated by the speaker. So as I always tell you, what is a trigger factor? Trigger factor is anything that happens in the news can be the reason for anything around that news to be asked. Now here, trigger factor, as I said, rules can also be asked, but rules are an extreme thing. Now, the article related to privilege motion can be asked, the contours of the privilege motion, privilege committee, anything could be asked. Anything that happens in the current affairs can be used as a trigger factor to ask a question around. So whenever something appears, my endeavor here is, in this news analysis, is to cover north, east, west, south of that thing. That is the news of it. But in UPSC, what, when, why, how becomes the news part. The acronym news can be expanded in this manner. In UPSC, N does not stand for north. In UPSC, N stands for what, E stands for why, W stands for how, and S stands for when. Okay, so all the angles you have to cover in order for you to be having a foolproof study or foolproof strategy to crack this examination, especially the prelims. Okay, ethanol blending program, this breach of privilege motion, anything you have to cover in a 360-degree manner, and that is very easy when you are consistent with the newspaper reading, guys. Now, these are the rules, etc., that are mentioned in the PDF. You can download the PDF from the Telegram channel that I've said before. The kind of jobs needed for Viksit Bharat goal. Okay, the writer has been a bit idealistic, but I'll try to cover it in next 3 minutes. Quickly be with me. Creating climate resilient jobs. What are the threats? India is the 7th most affected country by climate change in 2019. Okay, suffered around $159 billion of losses because of climate change, because of monsoon failure, because of drought, etc. Okay, $159 billion we lost in value in 2021. Adaptation cost. Now, to adapt to climate change, drip irrigation, then soil, etc., preservation of soil, fertility, and hell a lot of things. Like we are investing in e-batteries, e-vehicles. All those adaptation measures have cost our economy around $1 trillion, right? By 2030, this will be the cost, bare minimum cost we've written. Solar panels, anything and everything that we are doing to foolproof our country's growth strategy or trajectory against climate change. Then, as per this estimate is as per RBI, high impact of climate change on agriculture, labor productivity, and also the livelihoods. People have to go even further to get a bucket of water because of drought in the regions. Right now, coming to the other aspects here, steps needed for climate resilient jobs, providing 3 to 4 state subsidized e-rickshaws in about 6 lakh villages to create about 2 million jobs. So e-rickshaws will help people commute larger distance at a in a time bound manner in the lesser time, and this will create jobs also. 6 lakh villages we have in India, so we need to have state subsidized e-rickshaws. Finding new ways to enable private sector investment in compressed biogas plants to bridge the gap of 82 plants set up versus the target of 5,000 to be set up in 2018. Okay, so by financial year 2023-2024, this was the target. Only 82 biogas plants have been set up against the target of 5,000. By setting up these biogas plants, we will be able to, in a way, convert the excreta, cow excreta, etc., into or waste of vegetables, etc., the biodegradable waste into something productive to electrify our villages. That being the case, then accelerating achieving the 500 gigawatt non-fossil fuel energy capacity. We need to accelerate it, even though we are doing a commendable job when compared to the rest of the countries like China, US, Germany, etc. Solar panels, wind energy, the mix of energy which is coming from non-fossil fuels to be taken to 500 gigawatts need to be further fastened. The pace has to be further increased to create over 1 million jobs. So the title is the kind of jobs the India needs for Viksit Bharat goal, for a developed country goal. Now, writer has written here very beautiful lines here. Threats, artificial intelligence, resilient jobs. We need AI resilient jobs. What do we mean by resilient? They are foolproof against AI. Even if the AI comes, somebody would be needed to ply e-rickshaws, or they could also be autopiloted, right? You can tomorrow have a system which is autopiloting or automated in automated way rickshaws are plying, moving on their own. That could also be a thing. But employment potential of India's IT and business services can be limited in the Gen AI era. So writer says that today we are 58%, 68% is coming from the service sector. Those service sector IT enabled jobs in Infosys, Wipro, Tata, etc., they are not AI proof. They are not AI resilient. Already job cuts are happening thanks to this AI writing of Google's codes, Google website code that is there. 25% of those codes are being written with the help of artificial intelligence. So that means no more software engineers are needed. So in the light of this fact, when we say that 58% of our GDP and equally large number of jobs come from this thing, aren't we saying that we are vulnerable to the extent of 58% of our GDP and jobs are concerned? Okay, so maybe these jobs would get lessened in the years to come, as is already happening at the global level. Google cutting down on workforce, then Meta, Facebook, etc. These big companies are cutting down on the future job requirements. Not only this, they are shunting out the employees. In this light, launch of Meta GPT simulating these software companies, AI writing 25% of Google's code, and layoffs due to chatbots even in India are happening now. So we need AI resilient jobs. Government steps needed, new jobs needed to prioritize physical engagement and utilize our human creativity, painting, etc., artistic value, okay, handicrafts, that treasure trove of India which has been explored to a limited extent. GI tagged toys, goods, and handicrafts, all those things which require physical activity, be it non-mechanized agriculture. Okay, this has got twin benefits. We will be a healthy India insofar as the physical activity would bring about non-sedentary lifestyles, diabetes, capital, etc., the tags that we've got. Now, larger education and health budgets to plug the deficit of millions of healthcare professionals. Okay, we have doctor to population ratio of 1 is to 1341, whereas the required ratio is 1 is to 1000. Okay, so this year also we have increased the seats in IITs. Same is required for medical colleges. Health professionals are required, even teachers. Okay, The proud teachers, including myself, all fingers towards me and other PW teachers also. So, dedicated financing for the National Rural Livelihood Mission. What is National Rural Livelihood Mission? National Rural Livelihood Mission is to facilitate, livelihoods for the rural people. Its roots are connected to 1952 years, this Swarn Jayanti Gram Swarojgar Yojana, Swarn Jayanti Gram Swarojgar Yojana. Okay, Balwant Rai Mehta Committee, rural livelihood to facilitate global and urban market linkages. Whatever is being produced in the local level in India, okay, should be connected with the global level, global market. As Prime Minister talks about toys and other handicraft goods, there can be linkages between local, the urban level and the global level. So National Rural Livelihood Mission should be another link here, that whatever is being produced in the rural areas should be further processed in the urban areas, and then onwards it should be exportable to the global level. Okay, market linkages of local products, handicrafts and knowledge of farmers and artisans in rural India is what India needs in order to get the tag of a developed country. What is the tag of developed country? We need to increase our income, per capita income, to around $15,000 per capita. Today we are at around $2,300 to $2,500. Okay, so this is there. Need for being aspiration centric. Today's youth are losing confidence. Why? Writer has very beautifully underlined the reasons. Even when we sit in the UPSC mock interviews, because of phobia of English, snobbish value of English, that anybody who knows good English is flaunting it, to the effect that other person feels lack of confidence. So rural youth continue to have low confidence due to deeper insecurities. Why these deeper insecurities? From the poor foundational education. Okay, this includes English, lack of knowledge of English, poor financial foundational education. That is why people who are even appearing for UPSC are required to know NCERTs, the basic details, photovoltaic cell, etc. But our system has become coaching centric to crack the government exams or any other private exams because of lack of foundational education. If you are told to write a good essay, you need a coaching for that. Fear value, the fear mongering that is happening because of the coaching industry is leading to youth falling in the trap of lack of confidence. Okay, trap in a gray territory where they do not have the enough confidence to make them believe that they can crack the exam, they can do something productive in life, if not the government exam. So that is why aspiration centric youth has to be there as the backbone for India to become the developed country. Dependency on government jobs and coaching to crack the entrance exam. Low growth of non-farm jobs. Non-farm jobs like manufacturing jobs, again, manufacturing GDP is 17%. Right, so these things need to be bridged. Then government steps needed: rapid infrastructure development such as building around 70,000 integrated pack houses. What are integrated pack houses? Non-farm. See, this is an integrated pack house inside which the vegetables, etc., they are being sorted. They are being labeled with the stickers like Chicago apple or something like that. Okay, they are being packaged in a proper manner. This is the value addition. Rotten apples, rotten fruits, vegetables are being segregated. Or if it is about tomatoes, they are being converted into ketchups within this integrated pack house. As we call it as integrated pack house, everything happens in the same shelter. It is an integrated belt, you can say. Okay, processing facility, farmer producer organization, etc. So government needs to invest in these integrated pack houses. We need to have 70,000 of them, plugging the 95% plus infrastructure gap to create over 20 lakhs jobs in this sector, boosting productivity and value addition for high import export share items and tech enabled local manufacturing. Tech enabled local manufacturing for agri inputs. Then greater use of tech, social media and rebranding the rural. Rural should not be looked upon as cheap, okay, inferior. It should be organic. Labeling should be such that if anything is coming from rural, it has better nutritional value, health value than the cosmetic or artificial or adulterated goods of the urban or global world. Global world goods are more laden with preservatives. That should be the way of looking at it. And for that to happen, we need to rebrand our rural thing to make off-farm jobs aspirational for India's youth. Example, accelerating the national mission on edible oils. India, even to this day, is dependent for its edible oils, cooking oils. 57% import dependence of edible oil with revitalized rural processing of native oil seeds. We need to revitalize the rural processing of our own native oil seeds like soybean, sunflower. About 40% of edible oil imports can this way be reduced. Enabling creation of many such large-scale businesses with private-public partnership and investment. So PPP can be looked upon as a viable means so that we can have economies of scale also. We can produce at a level which can meet the needs, yet we can bring down the cost also, right? So this is there. Now coming to the other thing, Supreme Court fixes February 12 hearing on pleas challenging CEC EC appointments law. So let me explain you quickly what is the matter. Matter here is ECI appointment. Okay, ECI members appointment. There are 3 members. One is CEC and others are EC. Okay, as per the Supreme Court judgment in March 2023, this is Anup Baranwal judgment as we call it. In Anup Baranwal judgment, Anup Baranwal case, BARANWAL. Okay, in this matter, the Supreme Court said that members of ECI, here the Supreme Court judgment said, that appointment will happen, I'm writing in short form, with the Prime Minister by appointment will happen by a selection committee whose members will be the Prime Minister, leader of opposition or the leader of single largest party in house and CJI. Since it was a judgment by the Supreme Court, so CJI is mentioned. Whereas the government diluted this in 2024, this Parliament Act or ordinance in this way so diluted it that selection committee's composition, the CEC will be appointed, the election commission members would be appointed by a selection committee comprising Prime Minister, leader of opposition and one cabinet minister. Okay, now the problem is, the challenge to this petition is that it has been challenged in the Supreme Court again for the reason that by having Prime Minister, again a member of the government, and a cabinet minister, a member of the government has gained an upper hand in the matter of appointment of CJI. Okay, you got my point? Government has again got an upper hand. Now 2 members of the government and 1 leader of opposition. Okay, so they have challenged it that in the Supreme Court, an NGO has challenged it that now again it is back to square one. Before the judgment, Anup Baranwal judgment of March 2023, members were being appointed by the government. It was on this basis that Arun Goyal, another Chief Election Commissioner, okay, who was appointed in a controversial manner, that on day 1, he ate 1 laddu of his retirement, the sweets that are offered during the retirement, and the next day he again ate another pack of sweets. He was offered another laddu for being appointed the Chief Election Commissioner out of the blue. So the Supreme Court said that, were you choosing a son-in-law that you were, is there only one son-in-law that you have? That Arun Goyal retires as the secretary from ministry and the next day he is appointed. Till that time, the position of Chief Election Commissioner was lying vacant for 3 months. Why did you not fill up that position before Arun Goyal's appointment? Okay, so that means there was some malice, the wrong intention to have Arun Goyal as the favorite man of the government. That is why Supreme Court took on to itself the way of appointment of the Chief Election Commissioner and election commissioners, because Election Commission is an independent body under Article 324. How can you have just retired bureaucrats being appointed as the regulators of the independent body which is made to ensure free and fair elections? That is why Supreme Court said CJI will also be a member of it. Okay, now the Justice Kant here in this bench has said that matter is listed for February 12th. He has summarized the issue as matter between the Supreme Court versus Parliament. Can the Parliament annul the judgment of Supreme Court? Can the Parliament trample upon the judgment of the Supreme Court? You getting my point? Dilute the judgment of the Supreme Court by enacting a law, especially in this type of a matter. This is what is given in the Hindu newspaper. What are my inputs on this? My input is there was an inherent conflict of interest, judiciary appointing CJI himself as the member. Okay, why CJI is needed here? That's a point. Answer is, since Election Commission has quasi-judicial powers, so wherever there are quasi-judicial powers to be exercised, it is required, or it is in the proper scheme of things, that a judicial member like CJI should also be there, right? The issue with this judgment is that how can the Parliament dilute this judgment when it was declared by a 5-judge constitution bench? So the question before the court to be heard on February 12 is that whether the CJI, whether the Parliament can dilute the judgment of the Supreme Court Constitution bench by a mere passage of an ordinary law, ordinance, or gazette notification. In this case, it was not even the law, it was a gazette notification. Notification by the Ministry of Law, under which Election Commission comes, saying that the members of ECI will be appointed by this committee. Can the mere notification or ordinance annul the process of appointment of judges as declared by the Supreme Court? This is the question before the court. All right. So February 12 is the day we will see how the love between the two most beloved the organs of the polity, judiciary and parliament, or judiciary and government, comes out. Okay, 2 days before the Valentine's Day. So the point is, we have to see this love-hate relationship which is good for our country. Now, this is the entire matter. You can go through it. I have summarized it. India needs a law to protect domestic workers. ILO Convention 189 says that, the context is that India is not ratified it. What is the difference between ratification and signature? Signature is we have signed upon it, ILO Convention 189, but we have not ratified it. That means that India has not yet agreed to fully comply with it. Domestic Workers Act is required because they do not have any minimum wage guarantee. They are exploited by their employers. Employers, third point, employers are reluctant to have to call themselves as employers, and their place of work, their private house, as the place of employment, as defined in the Minimum Wages Act, Wage Code Bill, etc. So the writer says that minimum working conditions, bare minimum working conditions, timely food, timely sleep, how many hours of work, what type of work, all this needs to be defined. Lastly, police verification. They say that because of lack of identification proof, the domestic workers sometimes do not get the legal protection also. Okay, they are required to be verified by their employers through the police verification, domestic servant verification. But in the lack of, for the reason that they migrate from the poor places of our country, and then they land up here in Bengaluru, Delhi, Chennai, Mumbai. Okay, so they are sometimes exploited for this reason as well. They are paid lower wages. So this is the article that there is a need. Kerala and Delhi have taken steps to regulate the migrant workers population because they have floating population. Delhi sees, Mumbai sees a lot of population from Bihar, UP, Jhansi, Vidarbha region, etc. Poor people migrate to these areas in search of jobs. That is why, for the vote bank politics reason, that political party in ruling in Delhi will get the votes of floating workers also, these domestic workers also, if they enact a law for them. Similar steps need to be taken by other states to give the semblance of decency or decent working conditions for these workers. This was all in our today's news analysis. We have summarized 2 editorials, 2-3 news articles around Supreme Court, Forest Conservation Act and ECI. I hope this will be enough for the day. We'll keep you posted on the Telegram with regard to the MCQs and other current affairs updates and my polity class Udan for revision for prelims 2025. Thank you guys. Have a good day.